Welcome to the garage, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to do a post-mortem on this Dewalt 60-gallon air compressor. This is a DXCM601. I bought this off Craigslist for $250. First I had to run a 220 line over here. I had to dig a trench about 15 feet long and 18 inches deep. I put in an 1.5-inch conduit and buried it. Pulled some 10-2 and some, I think it's or 10-3 and some 12-2 through there. 10-3 runs this 220, and the 12-2 runs the lights and the regular receptacles and shit like that for 110. So we'll tear down the pump and see why it blew itself up, basically, and self-destructed. Probably why the guy sold it for such a low price. So the guy said this thing fell forward onto this pulley grate, or the grate that protects the belts and the pulleys. So it has two cylinders, one here and one here, and the cylinder that basically self-destructed was the one here, because when this thing fell forward, all the oil sloshed to the front of the pump, and the back piston never got any lube. And he said it ran and ran and ran. He didn't know it fallen over because he was in the shop. And so it basically self-destructed and ate itself. I started this up and it worked a little bit, half-assed. It would pump really, really slow and not anywhere near 11 cubic feet per minute. The electric motor seems good. I was able to pull one bearing off this crankshaft, but this bearing stuck, so I went out and purchased some bearing splitters. You know, listen to this bearing. That's real good, right? Listen to this bearing. I think we can reuse these. Yeah. Don't think so. So, where did that one go to? Here we go. Here's the two connecting rods. You can see this has been soaking in some Tractor Supply parts cleaner overnight, and this stuff still isn't coming off. This one's fine. This side, look, this is nice and fluid and smooth, but you look at this one, you see light where this thing warped or got so hot or wore out, something. It's oval, it's no longer round compared to this one. The guy said it fell over, but when I took the pistons out, I see these scratch marks on here this way, like he tried to clean this thing up. So I just ordered a new dual piston. These have two pistons in it. This one's completely fried, but this tells me the guy took it apart and tried fixing it and said, fuck this, I can't do this. You know, this thing shit the bed and I just want to get rid of it. This is the bad piston. This is just caked on oil. I guess when it fell over, it was running, and it ran for quite a while till the thermal cutoff took off and shut everything down. But this wrist pin in here, I had to drive this out halfway with a socket extension. This socket extension fits perfectly in there, and I just lightly tapped this with a hammer and pushed this off and pulled it out of the off the connector rod. But this is pretty much fried. This is all scored up. This is the reed valves. This is the side of the bad piston. You can just see the carbon buildup on the reed valves, and this has been soaking in some petroleum cleaner for overnight, and it's still pretty hard. One of the reed valves broke off. This is the cylinder facing reed valve, and this is the reed valve on top, and this part was just sitting in here in this little this is the head, I guess, or the air inlet, and it pumps air in. I guess this thing blew oil out, and this thing was so hot that it just cooked the oil onto the head of this. I mean, I've had this soaking overnight, and this stuff is really hard to get off. I may have to fire up my janky ass little Harbor Freight air compressor to blast this stuff off if I really want to get it off, and I can get maybe 10 to 15 seconds of media blasting with like baking soda or something like this, but I'd rather soak it and get it off. I mean, this shit's not coming off anytime soon. It's just baked on there. This wrist pin is just completely obliterated. You can hear that grating on there. When you hear this connecting pin or wrist pin, that's just my glove, but it's smooth. So, but I ordered a new kit, and it comes with the wrist pins and the clips and everything like that. What concerns me is this, the cylinder. So this has a magnet on the bottom of this flashlight, and this is cast iron. So that's this is also cast iron. So that's a good thing. I can use muriatic acid to get the scorched on aluminum off this cylinder wall. I don't know if the cylinder wall's all scored up or not. I'm hoping it's harder than the aluminum. Let me see here. A little scored up in there, I think. Right down in here, I don't know if you can see that, right here where my pinky is, there's some aluminum that has been scored onto there and melted. So I have muriatic acid that I can throw in there and clean it up. Trying to get as much of this carbon buildup as I can off this. Yeah, that's the rebuilding of a Dewalt, or the post-mortem of a Dewalt air compressor. Alrighty, let me take that shit inside and work on it because it's cold as balls out here. Let me clean all this shit off and get all the cleaner off, and I'll track this in the house into my indoor workbench. It's cold as fuck today out here. Both these camshaft surfaces are pretty clean. It doesn't look like that got scored up any. So I've got the bearing splitter hooked up here. Gonna try to pull this bearing off. It doesn't give me too much trouble. I think it's moving. There we go. Now it's coming off, slowly but surely. There we go. Let's clean this bearing up. Shit, I think we can reuse this. Yeah, that is some great bearing there. like running sandpaper through it. Alrighty, then you can pull this piece of crap off. You can see this isn't even round. It either chewed this up so much or heated it up so much that it just warped the living crap out of this thing. I mean, this is just black with heat, like the oil got baked on there. This whole top of this connecting rod is just chewed up. So I've got new parts on order. It should be here in 2-3 days. Let me check out this camshafts, make sure nothing's beat up on that. It's a camshaft, it's like 90 bucks for a new one. And believe it or not, all these parts for Dewalt, same as Porter cable. Same as a lot of the other name brand things. So you're paying for a name. When I was ordering these, Black & Decker, Black & Decker bearing, 17 bucks. I was ordering this off of a Dewalt subcontractor's website, and the part number comes back to a Black & Decker or Porter cable part number. You're paying for a name, just like you're paying for Nike. You're paying for a fucking name, man. They make them for $5 in Korea, sell them for 150 to 200, 300 bucks over here, because dumbass Americans buy it. Now then, this being cast iron, it's going to rust fairly quickly. I've got to put some WD-40 on here. So right here was where the aluminum scar was, and then over here was where another aluminum scar was, and looks like this cylinder casing is salvageable for both of them. I'll clean this up and hone these out just like you would a 4-stroke or 2-stroke. You use a honing tool, run it through there so the rings seat properly. Thank you, Ronald.